Ooh. Ooh, that's funky. I like that funky guitar. And the record scratch. Yeah, that's good too. What if there was percussion?
Yes! Yes! That's it! You did it! You did it! Was that a flute loop?
Okay, folks. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the new show. This is Sonic Weekly. I am Grant Pardee. I will be guiding you through this, along with my good friend and co-host, one of the administrators of SonicRetro.org, David the Lurker.
Oh, hello. Yes, I am an admin. One of them. I guess there's others, but I am one of them. Hey, and other places too, on the internet, that is. Oh, so thank you. But you know, it's not just us, is it? There's another fella. There's somebody hiding in the corner. Well, I know he's not hiding. He's just preparing for his late breaking news broadcast, because it is, of course, the senior Burning Rangers correspondent. You and I know him and others as Bo. Hello, Bo.
Teleportation, yeah. I am the senior Burning Rangers correspondent. It's been a slow 25 years, but the ice is starting to thaw.
Welcome to Sonic Weekly. This is a new show, where we're going to be talking about Sonic the Hedgehog, and we're going to do it on a weekly basis. That's the idea of the show. Will it always be about Sonic the Hedgehog? Probably. Honestly, probably. Because that's how Bo, David, and I know each other. That is the thing that unites us. We have that in common. We have been friends for, I'm going to say, 20 years through the internet. You know, on and off a little bit through some waning and waxing interest. And if it doesn't happen weekly, it will happen weekly, like with an A. Weak, as in lacking strength. That we can promise you. Does that seem fair? Is that like a fair mission statement for what this show is about?
It's going to be weekly, about Sonic, and often both.
So we're hoping to have our friends on, all of our friends on, who like talking about Sonic and Sonic stupid minutia, and, you know, talk about like, well, why does Sonic get a white stripe across his shoes, but Knuckles has, it's not even a stripe, it's just like a orange yellow middle.
I think we could get an hour 20 out of that.
We can get an hour 20 out of that easy. So today we're going to talk about something that nobody's dared to talk about in the history of the Sonic the Hedgehog media franchise, and that's this gosh darn game, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006.
I have to say, I played this game in anticipation of this podcast for the first time, and, you know, why did I wait so long?
Why did we wait? And Bo, I think it bears mention for you specifically. You are similar to Shadow. You're an experiment. You were created in a lab to see what would happen if a human only played Sonic Team video games, and that's it. No other video games. So your only knowledge of video games, I think, is Sonic Team.
Yeah, I'm like that guy from Uncle from Another World. The uncle.
100%.
He's from another world, and he's only played games through the Sega Saturn. So I'm like him, but I've played through the Dreamcast. And then I went into a cryogenic chamber and came out in 2021 and have been catching up on all the Sonic games I missed.
You'll find this out about David if you don't already know. But David knows everything about Sonic. Why, he was listed as a main contributor in the Sonic Encyclopedia. Listed right there along with Sonic Retro in the a very special thanks.
Yeah, it was a special thanks, not a because Ian wrote it. Ian wrote that book. I just offered some of the Sonic Retro expertise to fix some errors and give some pictures and things. But it's like, I guess I do know a lot about Sonic the Hedgehog. I know a lot about a little and a little about a lot, I think, is basically the way I think
I
about
know
it.
a little about a lot. And
Right.
wait, that is Randy Jackson, isn't it?
Maybe. I don't, but I did, Sonic 06 though, that did come out in a period where I wasn't playing Sonic the moment it came out. I didn't actually play it until 2008. Shh. I know, shocking. I also played it while I was dating a woman named Elise. Went through the whole game, and suffice to say, we broke up shortly thereafter. So I have some experience with Sonic 06.
Shout out Elise. Come on the show.
This title was a game that I always had an eye on, but never the ability to play. I had a Nintendo Wii at the time in 2007 or 2008. So this had been out already. And maybe I was curious about it because I liked Sonic, but I wasn't playing games, although I wasn't dating an Elise, but I didn't have the system to play it on. Then I got back into gaming, and maybe I could have played it then, but I chose not to or didn't care enough. And then through talking to you guys on a daily basis, it somehow became a parasite in my mind that I needed to play more Sonic games. And our guest today was somebody who really pushed me toward achieving this nightmare. You have to call it. I like this game. I'll defend this game, but I can't say it's a dream. It's a dream of an absolution. That's what we're looking for, an absolution. That's the point of this podcast. Somebody please absolve us of whatever sins we committed that caused us to become Sonic fans. So we're here to talk about a game that has maybe been talked about too many times in the history of the internet and social media and media about Sonic the Hedgehog. But screw it. We're going to do it too. We're going to talk also about this game. And one of the reasons the huge reason I played it is because my dear wife got obsessed with the idea of playing the worst Sonic game. And I was like, well, the worst Sonic game, according to consensus, is generally Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. But for one to play together on a big screen would be Sonic the Hedgehog from 2006. And she was very into this idea. And I think she's here to explain herself and to tell us what this game meant to her. And her name is Ashlyn Anstee.
Oh,
Ashlyn Anstee.
For a moment,
Ashlyn Anstee.
I was
welcome.
What if you get my name wrong? That would be a shock.
What if I didn't pronounce it right?
That would be funny.
After so many years. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my
welcome to the show.
On Sonic 06. Where did Sonic 06 start? I think, just to preface all of this, I did not play Sonic games at all growing up, really. I was a Nintendo kid. I did play a lot of video games, though. I did play significant amount of Nintendo 64 and Game Boy games. So in the last year, we decided it was time for me to get into Sonic. We started with Sonic Adventure.
It started with Sonic Adventure, and I don't know if you remember what kicked it all off, but it was your interest in Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah, it's true. Shadow the Hedgehog, goth, fun character. And I think that was what I was excited about with Sonic 06, is that it had, again, all these characters, these like fun, interesting Sonic fan characters.
The three main characters are it's Sonic, and then there's Silver Sonic and Black Sonic.
Yeah.
And Sonic, Shadow, and Silver, they're right there on the back of the box. Play as Sonic, Shadow, or new Silver. This time, speed won't be enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
And really, I think I loved Sonic 06. Here's my biggest frustration. Why did they abandon it? Why didn't they fix some of the bugs? Why? I think if they re-released it now, fix some of the bugs, I mean, a lot of the bugs,
All
I
right.
guess. Just start this off
Yeah.
with me being like, this is the best game ever made. I love it so
Well,
much.
I guess I want to start with, there's a lot to talk about in terms of the production history of it and why it released in the state that it released. It was not, intentional. It's very clearly unfinished and a rushed product. And I think you were sort of enjoying it that way too. Like you kind of knew that like there was a bit of kitsch to your appreciation of this game, I would say. But backing up there, just like, so you played Sonic Adventure. We talked about that before. You played Sonic Adventure 2, and this was like the crown jewel. So we had to get a PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
Which we did, and we got a copy of Sonic the Hedgehog 06 by trading our PlayStation 4 with a dear listener who provided a PlayStation 3 and a copy of Sonic 06. Not knowing you would include a copy of Sonic 06, I also bought a copy of Sonic 06 for the PlayStation 3. Now have 2 copies of Sonic 06. Don't know what to do with them. Don't know what to do with either of them. Have played one of them to completion. The other, mint condition. If you want a mint condition Sonic the Hedgehog 06 PlayStation 3, generally considered the worst version of the worst game, it can be yours as a early listener perk. We'll figure out some sort of contest for you to win that. Basically, if you listen to this and you get to this point in the podcast, you just need to find a way to tell me the secret word, and then it's yours. And the secret word is, I hate myself.
No, oh my God. Well, I want to know the history.
Damn, I was thinking it was going to be Lubby.
Let's talk about the history of this.
The history of Sonic 06?
I mean,
oh man,
how many hours do
where
you
to
have?
begin?
There's a lot to go. Okay, because right. So you've played through Sonic 06. Have you haven't touched Shadow the Hedgehog the game yet, or have you?
We
started
have.
It? You have started.
Yeah,
it.
That's the one where he has guns, right?
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of guns. He's got big ones. He's got small ones. He's got alien ones. Yes. Well, he
so
does.
fun.
It's a lot of guns.
He fights a Burning Rangers boss.
Oh, does he?
He does,
Wow.
Yeah. Wait, which boss is the Burning Rangers boss?
It's not a boss in Shadow, but it's a boss in Burning Rangers. It's a yellow flower that spits fire. And in the Shadow game, you encounter the same yellow flower spitting fire.
Oh, it's a reference.
Whoa.
But okay, so if we're trying to look at it from like a historical, like canon point of view, I guess Burning Rangers is sort of meant to be the future, right? So maybe after the Black Arms invaded Earth, one of the scientists recovered part of the remains of that flower, and then were able to genetically re-engineer it to some degree in the future. Never mind.
I like this. No. You stay with this. This is good. David is very good with the timelines of Sonic, and I've kind of been nursing this headcanon for a little while that all of the Sonic Team games, yes, Knights, obviously is in the same universe as the Sonic universe. There's a pinball machine and Station Square. Right, we don't need to, that's obvious. Burning Rangers, there's this connection in Shadow the Hedgehog. Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. Well, listen, they all race cars together anyway. So they're all in the same universe. Every Sonic Team game.
Right.
And the Sega Dreamcast commercials also proved that the NFL and NBA stars also live together with the crazy taxi drivers and Sonic cast inside the Dreamcast, which canonically is thinking.
You know, I've never seen them when I've opened up a Dreamcast. I didn't see anyone in there. Where were they?
They're in the like triangle part.
They're in the triangle.
Like you can't like quite
crack
see
it
it
open. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Right. So the history. Okay, if you've played Shadow for a little bit, you haven't beaten it, so I'm not gonna get into like the specifics of that game. But okay, so you have to imagine if you were somebody who grew up on the Sonic games as a kid in the 90s, and then you entered the 2000s. You're a little bit older. You're a teenager. You're a young adult. You could say like for me personally, Sonic Heroes, which came out in January 2004 in the West, that was the first Sonic game that I bought and played and felt a little deflated at the end of it. Like, oh, Sonic maybe isn't going the direction I want it. Maybe Sonic is moving on without me or something.
Many such cases.
Yes, like I think that happened to a lot of people. And then Heroes is followed up with by Shadow the Hedgehog, which is a game that's like, oh hey, look at us, we're extreme, we have guns. Look at this, we're cool and hip with the kids. You enjoy Underworld, Underworld, the vampire game, movie, and the Terminator films. Like that's what this is, and you're like, yeah. What's it called? It's not Underworld Unleashed. That's a crossover in DC from the 90s. It's just
you're talking about the movie that
Leicas?
looks like the Evanescence music video.
Yeah, that one.
Maybe Evanescence was in that movie.
It's possible, but
I wouldn't know. Yeah.
The Underworld movies about the vampires and the werewolves, which is different from all the other movies about vampires and werewolves. Those films, the Terminator films, those are huge influences on the look and feel of Shadow. So there's like a lot of weird things happening. Just because Sonic Team and Sega are also in a weird place after the Dreamcast is discontinued, Sega goes third party. It feels like a lot of things are up in the air. There's still like creativity, but it's in a weirder place, definitely. Sonic 06 is introduced, I think, in 2005 at what convention was it now? I don't remember. Or the gaming, because it wasn't E3. It is introduced behind closed doors, and the video that they used to introduce it is leaked online. You can still find it in places. It was filmed, with a handheld camera. Still, pretty good for I guess it was the Tokyo Game Show. Never mind. Okay. It's shown off. People are excited because it looks like they're going back to basics. Like Sonic Adventure came out, people loved it, and then the sequels that followed, it's like it's diminishing returns. But to go back to that, like here's Sonic, and it seems like it's going to be his story, and then Shadow's playable, but it's his story. It feels like it's in the mold of the original Sonic Adventure. Like they're starting somewhat fresh and new, and because it's coming out on the next gen consoles at the time, the 360, the PS3. It looks pretty, it looks fancy. Like the initial preview trailer, I still think looks really cool. Like the way how Sonic's running, and then he flies through the air and he lands and he fights the very generic Eggman robots, but there's a shot where you see it from their perspective, and then he turns super at the end, and it's very fancy. You should watch it. It's on YouTube.
It's cool. It looks like what you wish Sonic Frontiers was, because in some ways Sonic Frontiers is like the playable version of that, except if I'm remembering right, in this demo footage, whatever you would call it, of Sonic 06, there's more trees there. There's not a lot of trees in Sonic Frontiers for some reason. And when there are trees and you try to run through the trees in Sonic Frontiers, you just run into an invisible wall that says, "This is not the path." It sends you back on your way.
Right. I think there was also a bit more focus on on the development side. When they first announced it, they were like, hey, Yuji Naka is involved in this, because it felt like after Sonic Adventure, even though he was still technically a producer, an executive producer, he was focused on other Sonic Team projects. He was focused on PSO. He didn't seem as interested in Sonic. Like that was all, it became Takashi Iizuka's baby. He was the director on those games, on SA2, on Heroes, on Shadow. Ooh. And so to like double down on, Naka's involved, it seemed like, so we're still it's going to be in safe hands. Like Iizuka isn't mentioned at all. It is very much feeling like it's going to be this rebirth of things, where it'll bring back old fans, but it'll introduce things to new fans.
So much so that they choose a title.
Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog.
It's very bold. Exactly.
Yeah, they're like, this is Sonic.
Right. And as I got to maybe just take this opportunity to point out something that Bo has said before. So attributing to Bo, the number 2 leading expert on Burning Rangers and the originator of this, which is like, that's one of the major crimes of this game is the name. And even if it were called Sonic Adventure 3, which is also a big swing of a name, you know, you could then have a Sonic Adventure 4. But Sonic the Hedgehog, like rebooting it with the parentheses of the year, it's not a move you get to do more than once, really. Same with the Sonic 4. So you're putting a lot of chips down when you put that name on the box. Yeah.
Yeah, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, but the appending 2006 in parentheses was a retroactive thing after everybody realized it was bad, right? In the original conception, there was no caveat.
Yeah, even if the game had come out and been fantastic, I feel like people would still need to figure out a way to differentiate between the two. I feel like the 06 moniker would have happened anyway, but it's a lot easier to just go, oh yeah, Sonic 06, and just sort of leave things there.
It's kind of impossible to even contemplate, though, what if we had stuck with it as the unadorned one and the other one became Sonic the Hedgehog 1991.
Yeah, I guess that is possible. If Sonic 06 had exceeded all expectations, the original Sonic may have been the one that got the modifiers, which would be a very weird thing to think about. But I guess when it was announced, and as they showed screenshots and videos, people didn't really know a lot about what was going on behind the scenes, except when Naka announced he was leaving Sega. And I guess that was the first sign that things might not be going that great in terms of what's happening in the development of the game. But I guess maybe there was always sort of like this weird hodgepodge, because the gameplay of Silver was taken from a game that Sonic Team was developing also at around the same time that was canceled, which was called Phantom 5? Phantom Force? It was something. It had Phantom in the title, and I am blanking. But it was a game that apparently used gameplay, or like the physics, like it was very much what became Silver. They were working on the game. I think it was supposed to be like a first-person shooter or a third-person shooter, and it was announced, and then it was quietly canceled, and then they just shoved a bunch of that stuff into Sonic 06, which probably isn't like the best way to start making a Sonic game that's meant to redefine the character for a new generation, by shoving a canceled, unrelated concept into it. But, you know, it's fine. Fifth Phantom Saga, that's what it's called. I knew it had...
Fifth?
I couldn't think of the order of the words. Yes, Fifth Phantom Saga.
Also not forget the way in which the development team was split into thirds. You have a development team, and then Yuji Naka, the producer, he's not the director of 06. Producer is right, for credit.
Yeah.
I'm asking, I guess, because I don't really know.
What was the
so Naka leaves,
yes.
But Naka's producing 06. Like he's definitely taking more of a, but he's not directing.
He's not directing. No, the director was always Nakamura. Shun.
That's right.
Shun
Nakamura.
Yeah. Shun Nakamura.
Mm-hmm.
He was. They just were like, I think, pushing more the idea that, hey, Naka is more involved, because this was a game that was being developed in Japan. Adventure 2 Heroes and Shadow were developed in San Francisco, initially called Sonic Team USA. Later, they were called Sonic Studios USA. After Shadow, they made Knight's Journey of Dreams. So it's like, oh, Sonic is coming back to Japan. Naka lives in Japan. Let's really push that, the father of Sonic is hands-on once more with the production of a Sonic game, like on the day-to-day, not just, hey, give me a call, give me a fax, send me something on that dial-up modem, why don't you? So it seemed like a big deal. But then he left.
He leaves. He leaves in the middle of the project, and he doesn't just leave, but he takes some of the staff with him to begin his new company, new projects, which was called Prope. And then internally, Sega's
Prope?
Prope. Oh yeah, Prope.
Yeah, Prope. Yep. The leader of the Catholic Church, I believe.
With an R.
It's what happens when the Pope probes. It's a prope.
It's a prope.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was horrible. It's more like propane without the pain. That doesn't work either. I edit this whole bit out. Yeah.
While we're on a tangent, do you guys know there's a credit in Sonic 06 to Yuji Nakamura? He's a QA guy.
Oh,
I think we did notice that.
Is that a legitimate child of Yuji Naka?
And Shun
Nakamura. Yeah.
That's like the equivalent of like being like, yeah, I put you in my song, and then it's like your name and the girl's name, like just like being like, yeah, ha ha ha, just us, we're best friends. Coming on strong there. He still left.
Okay, but anyway, so Sonic 06 could only come out on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, but Nintendo was developing the Wii, then called the Revolution, and so then they had to take some of the staff away to go either figure out how to port the game or what ended up happening, create an entirely new game for that hardware. So, we can get more specific to give you like a summation of what David has told us. It was pretty broken. It was a pretty broken production process, pretty famously or infamously broken. And now, how old is this game now? 2006. So it's 17 years old. Is this right?
Math checks out.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was the 15th anniversary game for Sonic. It's
17 years old.
Yeah.
It's the age of Elise in the game.
You're right. You are right. That's it does say in the manual, which I am holding, and we looked at earlier, Princess Elise, Princess of Soliana, at the tender age of 17. That's the first sentence.
Right.
She lost her father when she was younger.
Is
that right? It doesn't say that anywhere. Where'd you get the third?
Maybe that was just in Japanese material, but she is Princess Elise the Third, which implies that there were two previous ones. Yeah.
Are they ever going to bump her up to Monarch? Her title seems out of date to me.
She should be the queen, you'd think, but maybe she can't take the title of queen until she comes of age, which I guess would be 18.
18.
So, right. So, I mean, I don't know exactly how the monarchy works in Soliana. Her father is the Duke, although in Japanese, they call him the king. He's not the Duke. He's the king. But in English, they call him the Duke. So if he's both, I guess you can be a king and a Duke. Like British royalty, they have like 12 different titles at once. But maybe there is somebody who sort of runs things, but we don't see them. Because I don't think Lord Regis is actually like above Elise in terms of the power structure. He seems to step in when she's gone, but I don't think he's also running things while she's there. Maybe he helps out.
No, he's fighting the local fires, a kid on a roof, close the gate. He's got a lot on his plate.
He does. There's a lot going on. I can't blame him.
While we're talking about Elise, and maybe we can talk about the many, one of my big joys of the game is the NPCs in 06. I think it's the best collection of non-playable characters in a Sonic game. It's the charm of the Station Square residents, but now we're in Soliana. We've got Sonic Man, an all-time great NPC character. We've got we were just kind of like trying to rank these for. Well, you were doing it we were just doing it for fun, I guess. We were doing a conversation. You were maybe preparing to do it for something else, but we were kind of like ranking the NPC characters. Obviously, I have a big love for middle-aged man who comes up with Luppy as a portmanteau of lucky and happy. And then he's like, oh, Luppy is good. This is gold. This is great. How about a new one, Luppy Luppy? I love it. He's called middle-aged man. It is a great caricature of all men, really. Every man who is older than a child and therefore should know better, who's being like, hey, is this clever? Is it what I did this? What about this? He's just like a little kid and he's wearing a backwards hat. It's so embarrassing. They know their audience. Sonic 06 had contempt for us. I think that is something that's sort of clear through a lot of it, is like a intense desire to achieve. And then once that desire to achieve is snuffed out, then they're like, well, fuck you, fuck you, man, you're luppy, you think you're so good, yeah, and like there's a lot of like promise in the game, like, you know, on the back of the box it says send cars and massive boulders flying with Silver's psychic abilities. In practice, it's just a lot of boxes. You're juggling boxes with Silver.
I think the NPCs are where there is just a little bit of a hint of that Sonic Team magic. You have Nights into Dreams with this totally ancillary Tamagotchi system that has no effect on the game except for it changes the music. You have Burning Rangers with literally 100+ characters, all that have names and models and personalities. It's that. Mm-hmm. Just a little hint in 06, these crazy characters who have storylines and places they go, and then they dance when you talk to them. My favorite thing is you go up to one of them and they're just doing, they're getting down for no reason, just to talk.
Right, they're all hanging out. I mean, I guess it's an extension of Sonic Adventure. Like, that's the first Sonic game with a bunch of NPCs having adventures. And
it's just way more detailed than it needs to be, which is what I love.
Exactly. It definitely has more of like an RPG vibe, which is something that I don't think, except for like the Paper Mario franchise, Mario doesn't really do. Like, you don't really get, especially in like the later games, that same like fun reason for everything to happen. Like, oh yeah, you're gonna, oh my gosh, the one in 06 where the guy wants you to like remember sequences of numbers because he's like a famous mathematician. Like, it just
you're talking about the different town quests. Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Like, all of that like fun extra stuff, I think is really where it shines, I guess, and where I'm sad when people trash it, because I'm like, oh, but there's so much fun stuff with it, you know?
I think it is that Sonic Team thing where what's the most important thing we could be working on? Is it fixing the catastrophic bugs in this game? No. It's one of the optional side quests. Let's do it.
It's like the doodling in the margins. It's like, okay, well, you got, a 0 on this test. This is it seems like you were trying to do, like, it seems like you knew every answer and then you picked the wrong ones. But these doodles in the margins are amazing. That is definitely a lot of the vibe of, like, there are some good details, but
well, I think that leads to kind of my overall take about the game is that it is broken top to bottom. There's no getting around it. There's no excusing it. And so you just go in knowing that good is not on the table. So once that's off the table, you can kind of relax and enjoy yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it helps revisiting it because you're playing it 17 years on. You're not playing it the day it came out going, oh man, I hope this is so much better than Shadow, because that didn't feel like a Sonic game and Heroes didn't feel like a Sonic game. And it's like, oh, here we are, we're going back to it. Like, this is going to be the Sonic game. Because something that I don't think a lot of people either remember or realize is that there were aspects of the game that they didn't even admit to being in it until like the week before it came out. Specifically, all the ancillary characters that you can play as. For the longest time, it was like, oh yeah, play as Sonic, Shadow, or Silver. And that was it. Oh, there's 3 characters, 3 hedgehogs. And then a week before, they're like, yeah, so there's times that you play as Tails and Knuckles and Blaze and Amy and Rouge, and you went 2, 3. And it's like, wait, what? What? There's 9? Why haven't you? Like, yeah, like that's in there.
Yeah, they didn't see that as a feature. That they saw that, which now it's like people want to return to that. Sonic Frontiers is going to have the DLC of extra playable characters, so that's like a thing to hang your hat on it. But then back then, at that time, there was kind of this thought of like Sonic and his shitty friends. We don't need any more of these. Now, to the credit of that point of view, playing as Tails or Amy in this game is an abject nightmare. Tails, his main way of attacking is by throwing dummy rings, which look like the rings that come out when you get hit and sound like the rings that come out when you get hit. So it just seems like you're getting hit all the time as you're trying to attack.
Also, the camera effect of when you make the attack makes it seem like you're being hit. It is inexplicably bad.
Right. Well, I mean, Sonic 06 was definitely it was overly ambitious, maybe, but it also wanted to incorporate everything that had happened previous. In Heroes, if you're in a situation where you're just Tails by himself, his attack is throwing those dummy ring bombs. But 99% of the time, you will never have to deal with that, and it's also entirely possible you've played through that whole game and never have to do it once. But they went, let's bring that back. Same thing with, Shadow the Hedgehog. They didn't give him the weapons, but it's like, he has vehicles. This is technically the next game after Shadow. We got to give him vehicles. We got to give him all this other stuff to do. They just wanted to cram everything in without really thinking about what that meant, overall. Like, that's why I think there are 9 playable characters, which is 3 more than either Adventure or its sequel.
I do think this is maybe the one actually good idea that this game has, which is, okay, the knock on Sonic Adventure is there's too many play styles and some of them are weird and there's too much fishing. And then
not enough.
In Sonic Heroes, you've got to play all 3 at once, and that definitely doesn't work. But what if you just had a little bit of taste of the alternate gameplay styles? Like, that's maybe a good balance. And being your friend who always relates it back to Burning Rangers, this is a thing that got cut out of that game, which was they were going to have, normally you play as Joe Ortilis, but there will be sections where they get stuck in a room or they can't finish a thing, and then you move perspective to one of the other characters for just a little bit and then resume from where you were.
Right. I guess in concept, it makes sense. But it would have been better if, like, you're a Sonic, you switch to Tails. Tails moves a little faster. Tails can attack by jumping or doing his tail whip from Sonic Adventure. Where, in Sonic Adventure, Sonic and Tails don't feel that far away from each other in terms of gameplay, aside from the fact that Tails can fly. But in 06, it's like, what if Sonic was nerfed and you could die real easy? And like Knuckles, I think his gliding and his climbing is sort of broken. It's all they didn't make it feel like, it's just Sonic with an extra ability and maybe slightly slower. They did not spend enough time.
The climbing in Sonic 06 is funny, really funny. There's a lot of like laugh out loud game mechanics, and the climbing is, I would say, one of them, because it doesn't look anything like climbing. I don't right, like, I don't know what it looks like exactly, but it's not. They're just sort of like it's like when a cat is doing biscuits on your chest. Right, they're doing biscuits on the wall and they're just sort of like dancing along it, but it doesn't in any way resemble even the odd climbing animations of Sonic Adventure or Adventure 2, or I don't know what else.
But who do you think the best alternate character is? Because I give it to Blaze.
Oh, Blaze is fun, I think. At least she's like the most different, I think, of everyone.
When do you play as Blaze? Only in Silver's campaign.
Silver's campaign, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you play as her a couple times.
Right. So Sonic's Amigos. They're called Amigos, right? Is that in the manual, or did I just find that from the internet?
It is Amigos, because there's also DLC you can get where you play as them, and there was planned DLC where you would play as them even more. There were a lot of things planned for this game that didn't end up happening, I think. Like Supersonic, and there's additional town missions and blah blah blah. It's broken, but yes, Amigos is right.
Okay. Well, because and I'm looking at the manual as I mentioned, and it says principal characters, and then there's 3: Sonic the Hedgehog, Princess Elise, Dr. Eggman. Here's the first sentence of Sonic the Hedgehog: the world's fastest hedgehog who is free-spirited but hates knavish acts. Define knavish. David, can you define knavish for us without looking it up?
Without looking it up? Isn't a knave like not a knight? Like, you think of a knave and a knight, so a knave is foolish. A knave is
okay.
That's what I think of, like somebody who hasn't yet gone through that journey to become a proper knight of the Round Table or something. Is that wrong?
Knavish.
The definition for knave is a dishonest or unscrupulous man. Similar as would be like rogue, villain, rascal.
Right. So a knight and a knave, like I guess the knave is the opposite of a knight, the dishonest and unscrupulous, while the knight is the true and trustworthy.
Goofus and Gellin.
Pure. Right. Yeah. So I guess yeah. So I guess I'm thinking like a knave could become a knight when they go through a journey and learn the error of their ways is probably. That's what I was trying to say, but that didn't.
Knavish is particularly focused on being dishonest or unscrupulous. Some synonyms. Synonyms include crafty, cunning, dodgy, foxy, guileful, slick, sly, tricky, and wily artful, which I might argue, and I think maybe you were about to say this, Sonic is sometimes these things.
Sometimes, yeah.
Like he can be
He's sometimes a little bit of a tricky. Yeah.
Right. But I don't think of is Sonic unscrupulous? I don't know.
I'm not saying he's like unscrupulous, but I'm saying he's maybe slick and tricksy and dodgy.
He hates knavish acts. So he hates
them.
I've already forgotten the sentence. Right. Yeah. Okay. So,
and this is all a tangent to the tangent of the tangent, which is the amigos for the characters of Sonic, Shadow, and Silver. Tails and Knuckles for Sonic. Omega, is that right? Omega and yes. Rouge for Shadow, and Blaze and Amy for Silver, equaling 9 characters playable.
Right, which is a lot of characters.
A lot of characters.
Mm-hmm. You also, I do remember also at the time, people reacting unkindly to the fact that there seemed to be a fifth hedgehog added to the mix. Because it was like, oh, here's an image of Mephiles. He sure looks like a hedgehog. Yeah. I guess I should also mention that before this game came out, the entire game script was leaked online.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't remember. Yeah.
Oh, I remember it because I remember reading it on Skype with a group of people. We had some friends. I had some friends, and
did that version make sense?
No, I mean it's the same essentially. Maybe a couple words changed here and there, but we went through it and went, "What in the why? What?" I mean, I've gone back and forth over the years when it comes to like the story of 06 because I think there is promise, and I think the time travel mostly makes sense, but it needed, I think, another draft. And some pulling back from the whole Sonic Elise dynamic in terms of the romance. That's what we're.
I think we got to part ways here.
What? I needed to pull back.
No. I'm
Do you have to
taking
go?
issue. No. I'm taking issue with his idea that maybe there's some promise to the story and the time travel is kind of okay.
I also, yes, I'm with you, Bo. I was going to ask you, David, of like, what exactly was showing promise to you? Which part of this was good? I had a great time playing it. I had a great time playing it. Yeah, you like the story too. And you like also the romance, I want to say. But so I'm just curious
it's a fun thing to do in the game.
What's a fun thing to do?
The romance, like I think I'm glad they didn't keep doing it because I think it's strange, but it reminds me.
Who did you choose in the test of love?
Doctor Who, there's only like one time really where the Doctor likes a lady, and that's what it felt like with Sonic here.
Oh, she's his one.
Right. Yeah, did you choose Amy or did you choose Elise in the Trial of Love?
The Trial of Love. That's the other thing. I can't believe there's a Trial of Love, and I'm pretty sure I chose Amy because I wanted to see what would happen, and nothing really happens. Unfortunately, they didn't have the guts to go through with it. You know.
What did you want them to go through with?
It like makes Elise cry and the world ends early.
Yeah.
like Mephiles instead of killing Sonic kills Elise, and Amy's like, now nothing can stand between us, and he's like, just ignoring the fact that Iblis has been freed unto the world. That sounds like a fun time.
Your favorite part of the story is how many times you get to fight Iblis in this game, right? That's like it's like they all intersect with like fighting Iblis and accomplishing nothing, it seems like.
Yeah, it's the futility of man.
Yeah,
We'll just go with that. No,
Yeah.
I think that, like, at the core of it, it's a story of, like, in a lot of Sonic stories, especially in the games, Sonic is sort of the catalyst for other characters to go through character arcs, right? It's not really Sonic's involved as a character; it's everyone else. It happens in Adventure with Tails, and Adventure 2. It's all about Shadow going through his arc on the archive. But in '06, it's like it's about Elise. It's about Silver, and I guess even in some ways, even though Sonic doesn't really deal with him, Shadow, it's also Shadow, like, continuing on his journey. The thing about, like, oh, there's a bad future, and having to go back in the past and deal with the moral quandary of, oh, is it right to kill this person because they might do something bad in the future? Sort of a simpler version of the, hey, would you go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby? Like, that's a loaded question. So doing it, like, oh, that could be something sort of interesting to explore. The idea of a character who, and then, like, with Elise, it's the idea of a character who's sort of the opposite of Sonic. Sonic is carefree. He runs like the wind. Elise is trapped in a system that she was born into and doesn't seem to be able to escape from. And even, like, oh, she can't even cry, she can't even express emotion, and then meets Sonic, who is her polar opposite, and is like attracted to those elements. It doesn't have to be sexually attractive. It could just be, wow, Sonic is cool as a friend. But, like, you could have, like, these story arcs going and then still have, like, the big bad threat. Like, there are plenty of things that you can do with it. And I think there are moments of promise, but other times it just sort of falls apart. And that's why I think with another draft or two, it could have been something really strong. And
yeah, I think you make a good case.
That's
I think
a
those are
great
interesting
point,
things. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Those are, and time travel feels right for Sonic. I guess because Sonic CD is there early on, and, like, in the first zone of the first game, you're jumping into a different dimension. So doing things like that, I don't feel like those feel right for Sonic.
Yeah, it's a
For
pretty
the
obvious
plot itself to be convoluted is not a huge detraction. It's like, name a Sonic game where the plot is not hugely convoluted.
I'm just saying, Mephiles could have gone back in time to kill Sonic.
At any
Right off the
point,
bat.
right. Yeah.
Right.
Why did he wait until the last story when you had to do, like, the millionth time, like the third time of doing that room in the caves in the future where you have to hit all of the glowing balls? You know what I'm talking about?
Right. I thought
You have to do that one like 3 times.
Yeah. There is. It does feel like maybe they didn't have quite enough time to figure out how to make that make sense. The time travel, like I said, is mostly okay. It feels like a lot of paradox going on, right? Where, Silver's future is already ruined. He goes back in time to before any of those events happen. Elise, we see, recognizes, well, when she sees Sonic, she remembers Silver, even though Silver hasn't done the things to go back in time yet to do the event that she would remember him from, even though she's passed out when she meets him anyway, so she shouldn't remember him, but that's fine. And then, like, oh, the whole thing about Sonic saving her from the egg carrier, he thinks she's dead and goes back in time, but I guess really maybe she's never been dead because Iblis wasn't immediately unleashed onto the world. The paradox is fine until you deal with Mephiles and Iblis, and I think maybe.
Can I just say that I love and that I hate that I was able to follow all of it? I'm really excited that I could understand. There's a lot going on, and I understood. I was remembering, and, like, yeah, and that's right. And then the blue Chaos Emerald does go there. Yeah, and how does it get? Yeah.
One of the beats that the story hits a couple of times is Sonic gets confronted by Silver, and then somebody else takes his place so he can run away.
Oh yeah, Amy does it. Shadow does it. And
doesn't Elise do it too?
Yeah, there are 2 Sonic Silver boss fights. Yeah, there's the one in the Soliana Square, I guess, in Castle Town, not Newtown, and then the second is in the jungle forest area after Radical Train, right?
Yeah, in the train yard.
Yeah,
but I think that's a Shadow versus Silver fight. Or does Sonic also do it?
Sonic. I thought Sonic did it, and then Shadow did it. I feel like Sonic fights Silver twice because
maybe so you do it in all three then.
Yeah, so Silver. I think right. Sonic fights Silver twice, and then Shadow fights Silver once, and then Silver fights Sonic, and then he fights Shadow. Like in terms of if I'm remembering correctly, that's how it is. Boss fight functionality. Right, man. I'm. And then Shadow kicks Silver in the head.
Silver is formidable.
Oh yeah, that first boss fight took us days to beat.
It is broke. That is probably the most broken fight in the game, unfortunately. Silver needs a cooldown, and they just didn't put it in there. It is theorized that the version of 06 that we got was just the last stable version of the game, and that there were later builds that may have changed and altered certain things because Sonic controls slightly differently in the Xbox 360 demo that was released, and we know that there were like further animations and things in late trailers, like in Aquatic Base during the boost segment, whatever that's called, the speed up. Like when Sonic is jumping from point A to point B to point C, like he just sort of glides in the final game. But there are trailers where you see him like twirl and do animations, and it's like, oh, they were thinking about adding in little flourishes here and there. But that version of the game must have had some like truly game breaking bugs, and they couldn't release that. It was definitely rushed for the holiday season. There are some people who say, oh, Microsoft did it. There's no evidence Microsoft did it. That doesn't make sense at all to me, like why Microsoft would be responsible. I think it's just solely Sega saying we need Sonic to be out in time for Christmas, and it was still rushed, and the PS3 version still missed the Christmas window. It like came out in 2007, I think, on the PS3, like in January.
That's right. Yep.
The name's not even accurate.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this point gets to something that makes me feel a little bit more fondly about the game than I expected to, which is if you've played some of the late Sonic Team prototypes, so Burning Rangers, of course, but also the Sonic 3 prototype, they're not that far off in terms of time from when the release needed to be finalized, but they're really broken. So like Burning Rangers goes gold on January 27th of 98, and the January 3 build is really rough. And similarly, the Sonic 3 prototype, if they'd released that, you would have thought, man, they really missed a step. So, given 2 more months, could they have pulled it off with 06? Maybe so.
The thing about Sonic 06 is there is a, yes, obviously it is a quote unquote bad game, but underneath that is a game that is, profoundly broken and but within that still is a game that conceptually is misguided and has kind of nothing going for it whatsoever, except for the remnants of better executions of better ideas in the past. But
at least it's not fun.
Yes. Right. It is also very tedious. But it's not.
We've finished.
We had a good time. We finished it. You were primed. I have to say, I think, looking back on it now, Ashlyn, because I believe we went Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic 06. Was that the order?
Which is the way it should be, the way the Lord intended, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if the game had been called Sonic Adventure 3, maybe people would have been, I don't know if people would have been more kind, but I also don't think it would have been like, oh, I feel like it would have been fine. It was 5 years after Adventure 2. There's nothing special about like the name as a whole. It's not like it was a sacred cow at that point.
Yeah. No, it is Adventure 3 spiritually.
Yes, and
it's
I mean,
it's several degrees more broken than Adventure. But
it is a lot more broken than Adventure. And I mean, it's not like Adventure is flawless bug-wise either. Although
Adventure's rough.
the later, the later ports would make you think it's more broken than it is. But it's not as broken on the Dreamcast. But 06, I don't know. I would like to get my hands on like the very on just all sorts of prototypes for that game. I would like to see the process evolve and change. There is so much going on, gameplay wise and story wise, and I would just love to know like the real story behind it, the way it evolved. And like, development builds can definitely shed light on like what they were thinking of at the time. And just like, because you know that when that game was released, it was nowhere in the state that anyone wanted it to be. And that Sega just went, it's Sonic, it'll make money. And it did? I mean, it's still a platinum hit. It's a platinum hit.
Wow, yeah.
Like that, people bought it. For some people,
more or less
this
as
is for some people, this is like the epitome of Sonic. Like, this is what gets them into
that's their
it.
Sonic, really.
Yeah, and like you have to consider that. Like, there are people who say Sonic 06 is great, the Genesis games are garbage, and they should.
If I was 8, and I am curious to speak to the
I'm
adult
curious
person
to be
now.
8.
I would love to be 8. I actually would hate to be 8, right? I don't know. I'm sure you're fine. If you're 8 right now, you're doing fine. Why are you listening to this podcast? But maybe your parents are listening to it with you in the car. Hello, everybody. Where are we going? Over a bridge. Not off a bridge, just over a bridge, because we're headed to... I think something that people would object to, even if they had all the time in the world, would be Eggman's design, and the kiss, I think, is not a big deal. Get over it. It's a little kiss. But people were gonna, it was just, those things were never gonna land.
How about Sonic jerking Elise's arm out of its socket?
Oh,
in the field.
Yeah, that wasn't ideal.
If Elise was more like Madonna, and their relationship was closer to like Roger Rabbit and Jessica Rabbit, I think you could maybe pull it off that way. But when you go like everything's super realistic and Eggman looks like a real human and Elise looks like she's from Final Fantasy, it just makes it way stranger to have Sonic and her kiss, even though he is dead at the time. And I guess it's her bringing him back to life. I don't understand
my
that.
favorite aspect of this is another character more or less dies in the story and is never mentioned again, even though they resurrect one.
They kill the other guy. They don't.
No, I think Bo means
Blaze
Blaze.
dies.
Blaze the cat. At the end of Silver's story, she like goes in, and then time and space totally fracture, and you play as every character you played as in the game. Except for Blaze. Where's Blaze? Nobody mentions Blaze. Blaze is just suddenly Richie Cunningham's brother, or just like it's a character who like is there and then disappears in the next episode, and there's no explanation about it.
That's right. Would the more contemporary version be what's her name, Judy from Family Matters? Because that also connects to Sonic.
That's the more contemporary version. Also, like a 30. I mean,
also a
30-year-old versus my 60-year-old reference.
Right.
We're Sonic. We're definitely a Sonic boomer podcast. We've got to like get that out of the way. We're open-minded, I think, is what kind of
Sonic
say here.
Or Sonic Boom or.
Right. I would argue that Blaze doesn't die in this game, but that's just me.
She goes back to her other dimension, right? That's the
right. I mean, I guess that's what we're supposed to think. The writer of this game, oh god, what's his name? I keep thinking it's not Nakamura. He's the director. It's the other guy, the guy who wrote Adventure 2, the guy who wrote Heroes. Why can't I think of his name? He co-wrote this game.
Shiro Maekawa or Kyoko
Maekawa. Yes, Maekawa. Yeah, so he co-wrote this game. And he's gone on record to say, I really wish that I could have integrated Blaze better with what was also going on in Sonic Rush, which is the game she's introduced in. And to me, I think she is just being taken to her home dimension, which makes sense in it. Like if Sonic's world is suddenly being shattered and all of time and space is broken, she's not there anymore. She's somewhere else. So that's why she's outside of it. And I guess Silver wouldn't consider, oh, why isn't she here? Because he just saw her, quote unquote, die. She also makes a request of him and is like, oh, you seal me into another dimension. And he's like, I can't do that. I can't lose you. And she's like, oh, you're so naive. That's what I've always loved about you. And then she just poofs. Like, Silver does not send her away. It's like this last test or this last moment between the two. And I don't know if she's like testing him to see if he'll do it or if she wants to make sure that he won't do it. Like he hasn't lost something about himself through this whole thing. I think that's up for interpretation as to what she was hoping he would do. But I think she knew that she was just going to go home and wasn't about to die, because she sure is alive in all the other games.
Right.
Yeah, she's alive later.
Yeah. She shows up at Sonic's birthday party, I think, in Generations. Is that right? And then she's around.
She is there. She's in the...
But Elise is not there. But I guess that's because by the end of the story, everything has been wiped away. But at the same time, they both kind of remember.
Yeah, I guess it's like that sort of comic book remembering thing where like, maybe. Oh, we resetted the universe, but I remember having an adventure. Do I? Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of like Forrest Gump illusion, right? With the feather. Is that what's going on at the end of the game? Or the beginning?
If you go to the Wikipedia page, which I'm not on, I just remember. Oh, I swear.
Yes.
But if you do go to the Wikipedia page for Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, I think in that in that opening, not below where they're asking you for the donations, but above the box of the links that like separate the document, there it says that Naka intended this game to be like a superhero blockbuster. So they were swinging big with a lot of the choices. They wanted it to be like Batman Begins in terms of like a reboot. Not right, and that is that. First of all, Ashlyn, can you check? Is that on the Wikipedia page? Am I remembering right?
Oh, yes, indeed. Sonic Team sought to create an appealing game in the vein of superhero films such as Batman Begins.
Yeah.
Realistic tone, multiple game styles. Problems developed after Naka resigned.
There's a ton of game styles in Batman Begins.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a strange...
yeah, they meant the Batman Begins video game adaptation. That was their big inspiration.
I've never played that. Is that any good?
No, probably not.
Oh. It is weird because there are a lot of people who talk about 06 as sort of being a reboot of the franchise, but the game itself doesn't feel like a reboot. It doesn't feel like a reboot gameplay wise. It doesn't feel like a reboot story wise, because every single character, like everything about them has been established in previous games, their relationships, their history. Like
it's a reboot without the benefit of shedding baggage.
Right.
Yeah, I guess there's tons of baggage with it. And it makes no, like this Blaze stuff that we were just talking about, like makes no sense at all just within the game itself. The game itself doesn't give you that full explanation. You need additional resources. The only thing that is fully contained to the game is the story of Elise, which also barely makes any sense.
I think there's a little bit of reboot intention, though, and same with Sonic 4 Episode 1. You could tell from the names, and they're kind of doing opposite things. Like, okay, here's what Sonic is now. 3D Sonic is this. Okay, never mind. Here's what 2D Sonic is now. Okay, never mind.
I guess a soft reboot, but or something that's like an easy jumping on point. I guess by calling it Sonic the Hedgehog, it's saying you don't need to have played the Genesis games or the adventure games or Heroes or Shadow. Like you'll be perfectly fine jumping on. And then you go, oh, Wait, so so Shadow? He's friends with these, and there's Mouthful, and then all these other. Yeah, I don't know if it was really ever meant to be a proper reboot. I don't think that was ever in its DNA.
Yeah, I think it's all kind of exaggerated, but I think like a fresh start for a new generation. But they've done that a bunch of times.
Of that video game generation. Like I feel like every new generation, they're like, yeah, well, this is going to be the newest one. You know,
if they could have called Sonic Frontiers Sonic the Hedgehog, if that was still an option that they somehow avoided until this time, I think they would have. Yeah.
The main issue is that most of these consoles don't, well, other than Nintendo, picked a catchy thing where it could be like Sonic the Hedgehog Switch. You know, like add like Sonic 64. You know, like give it a. That's why it should have been.
You want it to be.
It can't be Sonic PS5. Like it's harder to do that now, and so I think they're missing an easy way to be like new Sonic game. Like they can't call it new Sonic game.
Yeah.
Right. That would be,
well, maybe. I mean, there's new Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, but I know what you mean. When everything used to have Super, or for the Super Nintendo or 64 for whether they were first party games or not, or for Sega Genesis, it was like Mega, because
they
it was
did
Mega Drive elsewhere.
Mega.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think they should go back to numbering. They go back, figure out which games are main, and then mainline, and then just like, okay, here's Sonic 24, and you're just like, oh, I guess that's what we're doing now.
I honestly agree. I think they should all be like it's like Bond 25. It's like, well, they just call it Bond 25, and then a colon, and then Tomorrow Never Dies or whatever it is. Yeah, which means that Sonic Frontiers is Sonic Adventure. Okay, so if this is Sonic Adventure 3, what's Sonic Adventure 4? Unleashed?
Unleashed.
Yeah.
Unleashed in the HD versions.
Even though you only have 2 playable characters.
Even though it's got the overworld, it's got the NPCs.
Yeah. There's a ton of NPCs running around in Unleashed. It's just a continuation.
Okay.
Never goes to Soliana. I guess they're fine in Unleashed.
Okay. I want to do a couple of rankings with you guys, and maybe that's a way for us to, because I kind of feel like 06, we could talk about it forever. We've kind of hit a lot of the points that we had maybe brought up before, but I think it might be fun to, let's do a tier ranking of the 9 playable characters in the game. We'll kind of, I guess we'll just sort of, we'll try to make it a consensus. We'll have to hash it out but I think so between Sonic, Shadow, and Silver, just starting from there, which of the 3 Hedgehogs is the most fun, do you guys think?
It's not Sonic.
I agree, it's not Sonic.
Right, gameplay wise, it's a toss up. I feel like Shadow is probably more solid, but Silver has a better idea behind him, and that's
I think just taking your finger off the trigger button means Shadow's the best.
I would agree. Shadow would be who I would say is the vehicles are fun adjacent. They are approaching fun at a rapid speed, and it's got a lot of the same fun of the beat 'em up style that's in Sonic and Silver, but there's no annoying like auto run sections for Shadow, and there's also hard ones. There's not any of the box throwing of Silver, which gets pretty old, I think, pretty quick. So I think. I think unless there's a good argument against Shadow being number 1, I think Shadow's up at the top here.
Yeah, I think it's Shadow, and then I'm gonna say let's do the bottom spot and give it to Rouge, because what is even going on with this bomb throwing things?
Yeah, Rouge, Tails, and Amy, I would say are the
kind of unplayable.
Tier.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because Sonic should just be Sonic. Can fly. There's no reason for him to be the way he is in this game.
Right. I think Amy's kind of inoffensive, except for the part where you've got to get it like right up on the enemy to hit him with the hammer.
Yeah. I mean, she turns invisible. Don't explain it, but she can do it.
Very strange. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, I would have to put Knuckles low too, just because of the climbing and the gliding, and like, you can get stuck to a wall and just be there for 20 minutes.
Oh yeah,
for no reason.
Right. With Rouge too.
Yeah, I mean, they're both the same. So put Knuckles down with Rouge, and I guess Tails, and then but somebody who I guess would be up high, not quite Shadow, but just underneath. I would put Blaze up there because I feel like she, for whatever reason, is super solid as a playable character in that game.
She's the only one that has a good wave ocean.
That's true. Yeah, her wave ocean is good, and she's also like contemplating things. She's like, I need to find Silver fast because she's wondering about this whole Iblis trigger thing. Although she doesn't do much when she meets him. I guess like she's meant to. It's good. It's fine. Blaze is cool. We'll put her up there. Yeah.
Okay. So and then we are missing Omega.
Oh. Here's the problem with Omega, because I loved, what was the Sonic Adventure robot?
Gamma.
That was so touching and also fun. Omega is like, like every move is like,
and he's got such a fun dramatic twist with like, Shadow, in the future, I will be the one to betray you. I feel like actually every line it does that thing where like the last word is like I will be the one to betray you, like goes down like an octave.
That's how robots talk.
Yeah,
I like Omega's version of time travel, which is just sit in the same spot for 200 years.
Right. Yeah, that's how he does it.
He just comes back. It's like
So Omega, I just don't even want him on the island, in my opinion.
Well, Omega's not very fun because there's not a very good shooting mechanic. You have to be like right up on somebody, right? It's a very short blast radius.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you don't play as him all that much, do you? Like,
you've got to do a boss fight with Mephiles, and it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, you have blocked it out of my mind, because then eventually you're Shadow and it's fine. Okay.
Here's what I think we're working with in terms of. So, do you go to D or do you go to E? S, A, B, C, D. Do you include E or what do you think?
E's too many.
E's too many. D's the lowest.
Okay,
so D, you've got Rouge, Tails, Omega, maybe Knuckles, and maybe Amy. Knuckles and Amy could be C, but really, why would Knuckles be separate from Rouge? They're the same.
Right.
No, he doesn't have the bombs. I would put Knuckles and Amy a notch above.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true. Okay, fine. Knuckles and Amy are C.
Okay.
And then Shadow and Blaze are A, which means I guess Sonic is B with Silver.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, but Silver is above Sonic.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think they're kind of equally offensive.
So there's no S. No one's an S. Is what you're saying.
S is no one.
S is no one.
It wouldn't be. Is it right to like? That seems right. Who would be worthy of? Who's good? Who's like?
The only one that approaches pretty good actually is Blaze.
Okay, so maybe it goes Blaze, Shadow, Silver, Sonic, Knuckles, Amy, Rouge, Tails, Omega. Is Omega the worst one?
Yeah.
Tails is the worst one.
No, Omega's way worse. At least Tails is cute.
Yeah.
Right, but I guess if we're talking about the characters and how they look and their personality, it's completely different at that point. I'm just thinking about the gameplay. Like, how are they when you hold that controller and you're pressing forward? What do you feel?
No.
Yeah.
I guess in that case, Tails is worse because it's not fun.
No, it's real bad. Real bad.
We could always later do an episode where we have a tier list of just Sonic characters straight up, like how you feel about them.
Oh yeah,
then
we can put that's a whole thing. And and Silver has really grown on me as a result of this game. Can we talk briefly about the music in this game, which is every Sonic game, right? But this one in particular, his world is amazing. Dreams of an Absolution is best in class for me for Sonic theme songs. It's amazing. Shadow also has a song, which I think is good. I actually can't remember which one it is, if it's All of Me or if it's it's All Hail Shadow. It's great. All Hail Shadow's amazing.
I thought you were
Three
joking.
killer themes.
It's All Hail Shadow. It's the best song that's ever been made.
Three killer songs. You're absolutely right. Ashlyn, if we could get married again, would you walk down the aisle to All Hail Shadow?
Yeah. I would absolutely put that in a wedding dance playlist. That would be so fun.
Yeah. Just a good way to get everyone out.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I'm here for Town Mission 3, that absolute ska bop.
Yes.
That plays on about a 15-second loop during the mission.
But it's great. And Soliana New City is phenomenal. But also the forest area, all of the stages, I think, have really good music. They didn't. None of the music feels rushed. You're never like, oh man, if only they had 2 more months to like figure out the middle 8 of that song. Like they all sound completely finished and
it's a little bit of a Worlds Collide thing for me, because I've been a Zebrahead fan since like the very first concert I went to. They played, and I followed them since. And to have them collide with my childhood interest in Sonic, it's an event.
Yeah, that blows my mind. Yeah, I can't imagine. That would be. I don't know how that would happen for me, but that must be pretty fun. Or does it make you question everything and be like, wait a minute, is all of this bad? Like, are these all? If this likes this, then does that make me? Do you define yourself by the products you like?
Exclusively.
Right. It's the only way to be. Soliana versus Station Square versus there's a couple comparable cities in Unleashed.
Yeah, I don't really, those aren't terribly memorable to me, the Unleashed ones.
So even Soliana, I was trying to like think of like, well, what's the best area of Soliana? It's like, well, it's definitely New City just because of the music, but it's for me, but it's also like, it's very easy to get lost because everything looks very samey. Mm-hmm. David, can we talk for a second about what's her name? Who knows the secret?
Oh, she knows the secret. Yes, she knows. She knows the secret.
She knows the secret, and for some reason, her dialogue is spoken.
Oh yeah.
Is it spoken? Does she actually read her lines? I don't remember that.
Maybe it's not her, or maybe it's somebody talking about her.
Anna knows the secret. Anna is she's one of the handmaids, right?
To Princess Elise, yeah.
Yeah, right. There are 2 handmaids. One is Anna, who knows the secret, and then the other one doesn't do anything. Right?
And we never learn the secret. She keeps it.
Yeah, we have no idea what this secret is. It could be the tears. It could be anything.
Right. Well, what is okay? Well, let's go to the wiki. Hold on. Let's do this. I got to remember. We're going to Town Mission 14th, the 14th mission. In silver.
Missions.
Protect Anna. She knows the secret. The mission takes place in the Soliana Castle town. Anna, a lady in waiting and servant of Princess Elise, has been attacked by badniks. She is said to know a valuable secret about Soliana, so the robots are trying to get the information out of her. The Soliana Royal Guards, having heard Anna's screams, have arrived to help her, but they are unable to handle the situation. The guards ask Silver to take down the robots and escort Anna to the Soliana forest, where it is safe.
This one highlighted to me something that rubs me the wrong way about this game, which is they say badniks there. And when I think of badniks, I think of your caterpillar or your Motobug.
Yeah.
You know, fun little colorful guys. No, these guys shoot bullets.
A lot of
real
them.
bullets.
Yeah.
They just got straight up like, here's a bullet. Other badniks like the Buzz Bomber shoots a little energy ball at you, and you're like, wow.
Maybe that's the secret. They used to be cuter, and then they turned into like these Terminator robots that shoot machine guns at you.
Right.
And you catch the bullets as Silver. I mean, that's pretty fun the first time that happens. Doing it 120 more times, it gets a little repetitive. But catching the bullets and firing it back at them, that's neat.
I guess her secret isn't important. It's weird.
I would never say that. I mean, I think her secret is very important. But if
She
when
just tells
she's
the
comfortable
guards.
sharing it, I'm here to listen.
Well, maybe in the sequel to 06 that never happened, she finally reveals it.
Yeah.
There were rumors that there was a direct sequel happening involving.
What if they called it Sonic 07?
Right. It's because the voice actor of Silver the Hedgehog on his website at the time was like, oh yeah, my voice work, Sonic 06, Sonic Rivals, and then listed something else completely unrelated. And it was like, what is this? It was like called Silver Sonic's Awakening or something. God. But man, it definitely never happened, and nobody ever figured out what the heck he was talking about. So it's a mystery. Ooh.
It's kind of a shame that they didn't do a second one, because I do think that modern games, I feel like, have the benefit that they're much easier to be like updated and fixed after, like, even if they do launch broken, like Cyberpunk or whatever, they have a chance to like kind of be like, oh gosh, we're so sorry, don't worry, we'll fix them all. But I wish for a true, I guess you could say Sonic Frontiers is the next Sonic Adventure game. But I want a Sonic RPG, I think, is what I want.
Yeah, I know what you mean. No, we're not even gonna tell Ashlyn about the existence of
what
of the Sonic RPG.
Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood was released on the Nintendo DS. It is the one and
we
only
have one
Sonic
of those
the Hedgehog RPG.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can play that.
Yeah. All right. God damn it.
You gotta. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
From me.
Sonic the Hedgehog Awakening was the name of the mysterious Sonic game on Pete Capella's website.
Why? Would you say Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood is better or worse than Sonic 06?
I would put it this way: Sega won't even acknowledge its existence, right?
Yes, the Dark Brotherhood is in a weird place. In the Sonic the Encyclopedia that was released last year, or I guess at the tail end
2021, right?
of 2021, right? It's the only game in that entire book where they go, this game is not canon, and it's like, oh, like they don't even say like Sega Sonic Popcorn Maker is not canon, where they're like very firm. I guess it's partly because after BioWare was bought, it's like, oh, they're never going to make that sequel. There were plans.
It ends on a cliffhanger.
It ends on a cliffhanger. There were probably plans to make, I'm sure, a whole series. I can't imagine they were only going to do 2. But the company got bought. The game wasn't. It didn't do very well, review-wise or financially. I think there's all of the mishmash about the certain characters in the game. Don't want to spoil it, but it's just never going to happen. There's never going to be a sequel. They're never going to follow up on the original things. But it is a game that tried. It tried so hard to be a game that acknowledged everything that had happened in the Sonic the Hedgehog series. There were references
so cool.
to all the other games. Big the Cat is a character that you can add to your team if you want. I mean, they're all there. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Rouge, and Amy. There's this weird subplot where Amy tries to make Sonic jealous by saying she has a boyfriend.
I love that.
and like the gun commander's there from the Shadow the Hedgehog game. It's all there. Like, I haven't played through it properly myself, but I think it might be worth it. It might be worth going through.
Yeah,
but
we could do it as a project for some other time. Thanks
but the
much for
music
setting that up.
Oh, you're welcome. But the music,
Wow.
the soundtrack,
Yeah, the music
is, terrible.
is
I'm gonna say that
famously
right
awful.
now. Like,
yeah.
I guess this is a tangent. Originally, they were putting in music like from Sonic 1 and 2 and things, and then realized, oh, Sega doesn't own that music, and so they just stole a bunch of MIDIs from the internet and shoved them in there, and so like half of the songs don't even sound right because all the instruments are wrong and some instruments are just muted, and it's like, oh, what is this? It's so weird. It's so bad. There's a couple original pieces which sound fine, but everything else is just a mess.
But I am really interested in the story of that game. The in-game plot, because it was taking pretty liberally from the Ken Pender's Knuckles comics, and the good ones at that. So it was taking some of those ideas and putting it into a game, which is pretty fun.
Right, which is probably another reason why we're never getting a sequel, is because how much of this is actually based on Ken Pender's work? Like, it's just a whole mishmash. It's too much to get into right now.
In fact, maybe we should thank Ashlyn for hanging out with us, and maybe for any last thoughts that you may have on 06.
My final thought is I'm excited to play some of the fan remakes of Sonic 06.
Project 06. Are you interested? It is possible for us to play it now that we have a PC.
A PC, yeah, I'm interested in playing that. I think that if I have really been enjoying playing older games. I think that they're a lot easier to play now with emulators or whatever. And I think Sonic 06 has a place in everyone's heart. It's fun to play older games and enjoy.
But there are some older games you hate, like the Genesis Sonic games. Like you tried to play Sonic 1 via Sonic Origins, and you were cursing the whole time. You hated it so much.
Well, this is a positive. I think this was a positive episode. We can dive deeper into that later and how broken I am as a person. But it is interesting that, like, for me, Sonic 06 was more enjoyable than the 2D Genesis games.
To some people, that's sacrilege. So
I know, and that's the thing. I think.
That's the big hot take. That's the hottest take you're gonna hear. Sonic 06 is better than Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 is better than Sonic the Hedgehog 1991. I think the hot take.
But I do think that it's there are so many different gameplay styles that I think that that's the issue with, like, a long running franchise is it's hard to create a game that works for everyone. Like, I might also say it would be super fun to have a Sonic farming simulator. But that's stupid. But
no,
also,
I want more of these spin-offs. I keep saying, like, I want the Sonic beat 'em up game. Like, I want another Sonic fighting game.
Full-length Chow Garden.
A full-length Chow Garden.
Oh, that's what I want. That'd be so fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my final thoughts. Thank you for having me here on Sonic Weekly.
Oh, hey. I think that's all the time we have for today. But I think it was a good time. I think it was a fun time. I'm glad that both Grant and Bo were here. I'm glad that Grant's wife, Ashlyn, I hope I said it right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'd say thank you, and she'd say thank you back, but she already left. But that's
she's hit the road. She's never coming back.
It sounds. I guess it's more an issue for you if you're married.
I'm screwed.
Yeah. But I hope you enjoyed this inaugural outing of us talking about Sonic in a weekly format. If you enjoyed it, you should think about subscribing to this podcast feed and leaving a review on your podcatcher of choice, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Give it one of those old 5-star ratings. Really, let us know. Let us know what you liked. Let us know what you didn't like. We're going to keep on doing this. We're gonna iron out all the issues until this is 1000% smooth sailing. And of course, we're not gonna stop thinking about Sonic, and we hope you don't either, because there's always something to say about a little blue hedgehog. So until next time, take care.